In the last video, we went over the very basics of innate immunity, which occurs to some extent in all multicellular organisms. Now it's time for us to talk about something that occurs only in vertebrates, adaptive or acquired immunity. Now, if I can take just a bit of a diversion to point out two other characteristics that are also unique to vertebrates, I would have to include the myelination of nerve axons, which dramatically speeds up the communication within the nervous system and, as I mentioned in another video, ultimately gave vertebrates a greater freedom to evolve larger body size. Another special thing about vertebrates is how the head forms. By this, I don't mean the evolution of the head. Most kinds of invertebrates have them just as much as we do. But the development of the vertebrate head is strikingly different from the way that heads form in other animals. But getting to the real topic of this video, which is, again, a biological feature that is unique to only 2% of animals, the vertebrates. It's the presence of lymphocytes and adaptive immunity that allowed us to go one mighty step beyond the other 98% of animals. Let's say you catch the flu, which is caused by the influenza virus. Your immune system develops a specific counterattack against that flu virus that's only effective against that virus and is so specialized that it would be partially or completely useless even against a different strain of the flu virus. This adaptive immunity takes longer than the innate defenses. Typically, several days are required before the adaptive immune defenses come online. So the question now becomes, why is this a good thing? There must be something good about adaptive immunity to make it advantageous to have, even though it's slower and less flexible than the innate mechanisms that we already had before evolving this newer adaptive version. Two things come immediately to mind. First and foremost, the counterattacks generated by the adaptive immune system are effective in dealing with many forms of invading microbes that innate immunity might not be able to stop. Innate immune defenses, even sophisticated ones like the complement system, have limitations coming partly from their being so general and multi-purpose. They might be able to significantly slow down an attack by an infectious entity, but if the attacker is able to grow in number faster than the defenses can kill them off, ultimately the defenses will be overwhelmed and the host will likely be severely harmed, if not killed. One important feature of adaptive immunity is the way that once the system has successfully learned how to destroy the particular microbe that's invading, the body launches a massive counterattack, flooding the invaders with antibodies, which are highly specific weapons that destroy the attackers in a tremendous surge. Secondly, and also very importantly, the immune system retains a memory of how to make the antibodies, so that if at any point in the future you were to come across the very same strain of flu virus, you would be able to launch that big counterattack much more quickly. Basically, this is the part that will keep you from getting sick from the same microbial pathogen twice. Think about childhood diseases. If you have had the German measles, you won't ever get it again, right? This is because your immune system learned how to destroy the pathogen so quickly that you won't even show the slightest symptoms of the disease on the occasion that you ever encounter those pathogens again. Specificity and memory are the two important characteristics of adaptive immunity that set it apart from innate immunity. I'm not going to try to get into the detailed mechanism of how adaptive immunity works. It's far too involved to cover in a single topic. When we do this in BIO103, it's a subject of a whole unit, not just part of a unit. What I want to stress, once again, is that the vertebrate adaptive immune system is a significant departure from the innate mechanism of pattern recognition that you can find throughout the animal kingdom. It's also evident that since both innate and adaptive immunities are mediated by the same type of cells, leukocytes or white cells, it's also clear that the two systems are related and that the cells of the innate system were the starting point for the evolution of adaptive immunity, occurring with the earliest jawed vertebrates around 500 million years ago. There's one more thing that really secures one clear advantage of vertebrate adaptive immunity: diversity. As we learned in the previous video, innate immunity is based on the concept of pattern recognition. Basically, the cells are able to recognize a range of standard chemical signatures of microbial bad guys. If there's a recognizable invader, these receptors get triggered and the defenses get launched. This is probably enough for animals that are small, short-lived, and or well protected by anatomical barriers, such as insects, because such animals are actually less likely to be challenged by any microbe that its innate defenses are unable to respond to. A problem arises with longer-lived animals, like vertebrates, that are almost certain to encounter a much larger diversity of pathogens over their comparatively longer lives. With only innate immunity and its limited scope of pattern recognition, it would seem like only a matter of time before some invader was able to breach past the innate defenses. The thing about adaptive immunity is that, at least in its fullest glory, as with a mammal or a bird, the immune system has a capacity to generate several billions of antibody responses, each one specific for a different kind of invader. This gives animals with an adaptive immune system an immensely larger defensive range. With the evolution of an adaptive immune response, with such a mind-bogglingly huge breadth of different antibodies that can be made, vertebrates have the ability to deal with a much greater diversity of potential pathogens. It's also significant because this may have actually given vertebrates an opportunity to evolve longer lifespans and larger bodies than may have been possible for animals that depend exclusively on innate immunity. It also may have permitted animals to live in new, more complex surroundings, in which the animal must face a greater diversity of different pathogens.